before you decide to add capacity. Because there's no doubt that there's more capacity, let's say, on your existing system by using it to the biggest and best way possible. And a lot of that comes down to operations that we'll talk about. So we've done this study almost annually, about every 19 months to 2 years, ever since 2001. So there's a lot of historical data and trends that we can look at and see how things change, see the benefits of projects that have been implemented, and help you prioritize things going forward. So the last time we did the study was in 19, prior to COVID, and obviously, things have changed a lot for the better since then, and now we'll talk about those results, going forward. So these are the routes that were included within the Hidalgo County area, and then again in Cameron County, those routes are here. So you can see the majority of the area has been covered. And just to point out here, just in case you notice, within the Hidalgo County area, the McAllen area was kind of carved out this time around, because simultaneous with this effort, the city was doing their own in-house funded project that replaced a lot of equipment and retimed about 150, 160 signals within the city. So since that was going on at the simultaneous as we were doing our data collection, that area was kind of skipped over, and they'll have some of those results to be able to talk about those in time, about what the benefits they observed in doing that project that they funded. Okay, next one. So what we did, and we collected the data, and again we compared that operational data, the resulting speed between intersections to the speed limit on these routes. So this kind of highlights what those results are, and the red areas are what we call congested, or another way is in many of them we found those to be having delays. So the fine line difference between delay and congestion is, I call congestion things that are caused due to capacity issues, where hey, we need more lanes, we need more room. Delays are things that are caused by, I wouldn't say artificial, but due to signals and due to operations. You're driving a corridor, you got plenty of room, but you get to an intersection, you got to stop because the light's red. Is that capacity? In most cases, not. Sometimes you may have backup, you may have left turn, capacity issues, things like that. But most of it's due to operations of the signal. And those are things that are easier to address than adding capacity in most cases. So in this case, it may not look a lot different at this scale, but what we did is to cut those areas between intersections into smaller segments. So we chopped it up into half a mile or tenth of a mile lengths to help us pinpoint where the congestion or the delays were occurring. Were they occurring in mid-block that may be indicative of capacity issue or access management issue, or are they occurring at an intersection where there's a signal? Well, we found that 60 to 70% of the delays that were found were at a tenth of a mile segment that had a signal at its endpoint. So they weren't mid-block capacity issues. So what that comes down to is, if we look at the intersection segments, we found that, was it 43% are operating within the congested category, which is 75% or less of the posted speed of a segment between signals. So that would, on the surface, seem pretty high. But the next one, if you look at the tenth of a mile segments on the next slide, if you look at those, it drops it down to only 10%. So again, taking the intersection segment between signals, chopping it up into tenth of a mile segments, how many of those smaller segments now are found to be congested or less than 75%? Well, that's only 10%, which it turned out to be 60% of those occur where a signal is. So we had 40% that were occurring mid-block and things like that out of that 10% of the overall network. So it's about 160 miles of congestion was contributing to almost 600 miles of intersection congestion by calculation.
Could you repeat that again, what you just said?
So go back to the previous slide. So if you look at that second to the right column, it says 614 miles were found to be congested. Okay, that was out of a total of 1,400 directional miles. So we did basically 700 miles, 79 miles. We had 700 miles this way, 700 miles that way. Of that, we had 600 miles or 614 miles intersection segments. So again, if you're driving from point A to point B, and you may drive a posted speed for the majority of that, but then you get to the intersection, get to the signal, and you may sit there for 30 seconds waiting for the green light. By the time you cross through that intersection and you take that average time to go from point A to point B, it averaged out to be less than 75% of posted speed, even though you're going posted speed the majority of the way. But you got to the signal, you sat there long enough, that brought your average speed down. But all that delay occurred at that last, tenth of a mile segment, at the signal. So go to the next slide. For the 600 miles, now you look at 163 miles, is taking those tenth of a mile segments, and how many of those now were found to be congested? Well, it wasn't the whole distance, it was only that last piece, or the last couple pieces. So now we got 163 miles, basically, that was found to be congested or delayed, but it was forcing the longer segment to be categorized as congested also, even though most of the delay occurred in a short distance.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one. So these are what we found to be recommended within the area, and the colors may be hard to see in the lights, but again, the McAllen area, those are shown are the ones that the McAllen has done the retiming on, and those are all implemented and in operation now, along with a lot of new equipment that they were able to procure. And then the green dots in this area, in the Mission, Edinburgh, and the FAR area, and the next slide we'll show those within Brownsville. So it totaled out to be at about 172 signals. So those 172 signals, if they're addressed in terms of operation and coordinated between signals along a corridor, that would address 60% of the delay. Again, we went back to that slide that showed we have 600 miles. So that, by addressing those 172 signals in terms of equipment, operations, signal timing, coordination, that would then address 60% of the area that by definition or by calculation is found to be congested or have delay. So that kind of goes back to the definition of a CMP, is trying to manage what you have before identifying the need to go out and widen the facility. Or even if you do choose to widen the facility occasionally, make sure you do keep in mind operations, because even if you widen a facility, if you don't include operations or signal timing, you're not really solving the delays. You're still going to be stopping at intersections along the way. Okay. Go back. Yeah. Yeah, that's Cameron County, Brownsville area. So what we're highlighting, I appreciate.
Hold on. So I don't know. I'm thinking the same thing that the mayor's thinking. You go back to the Hidalgo one.
Yeah.
All right.
The red one?
Yeah. So in other words, if you look at it, clearly there's a difference according to your color scheme. So the majority of that 600 miles that you're saying is the congestion, how much of that is in Hidalgo? And is it because of, the some of the obvious ones? But what you're explaining to us is that you may be okay on a thoroughfare, but you hit a couple of lights, and that may be causing the delay because they're not coordinated. I remember this from my time as mayor 15 years ago. Coordinating your traffic lights is an easily addressable fix, but sometimes for whatever reason, it's just not. It doesn't come into play. And I don't know if that's what the mayor was thinking, but that's what I was thinking when I noticed a difference in color and obviously all the red. So, if you've got city upon city, how do you help coordinate the traffic signals?
Right.
If it's just Brownsville, that's easy to address, or if it's just FAR or McAllen. But if you've got McAllen, Edinburgh, Mission, FAR, or FAR San Juan Alamo, how do you? I guess you have to coordinate between the cities, right?
Right. And let me address one thing before we move on. Is the red ones you're seeing here? Remember, those are McAllen, and those are the ones McAllen is doing in-house, and they've already addressed those. The ones that may be hard to see because of the colors and the lights, the green ones are the ones that are part of the 172. But percentage-wise, yeah, there's still a good number. I think I can get those to you individually as to what the breakdown. And another point to make here is the reason why I highlight Mission, McAllen, Farr, Edinburgh, Brownsville, because those 5 cities are the only ones within the valley area that maintain their own signals. All the other signals outside of those areas that are less in population than 50,000 within an individual city that are on state routes, those are maintained by TxDOT. And that's where we have worked together before, back in 19 and over in 16. TxDOT worked in tandem with us. I think TxDOT addressed maybe 85 signals. When together, I think we looked at 170 signals, up to 200 signals. At that time, it was in the Hidalgo County area before the merger. So TxDOT is an integral partner in doing this. And as part of these 172, in addition to that, there's a list also that we would be looking for TxDOT to do operations on those also, so they can coordinate, like you say, between cities. Because signal timing, a lot of times when it is done, it's done locally, and there's not a lot of coordination between the signals, between the cities, because it's challenging to do that at times, and that's why the MPO has taken the lead, and you as a group has taken the lead in looking at it more regionally, because everybody drives. They don't drive within their city. They drive across those borders, jurisdictional boundaries, and there's no reason artificially for the signal system to operate any differently when we can take a regional look at it and with a project like this that's recommended.
So if I may, I have a comment on that. We did all the recommendations, all the changes that in 19 that you projected to us,
Mhm.
remember? But we're still having the same problem. I would have hoped we would have done some of the areas, would have been out of it with your recommendations from 19. But it seems that we're still not at that right place. So we're gonna go after the same perspective on this study, because we're gonna follow that same items, not work.
No, I welcome the comment, and I actually spent 3 hours right before this meeting with Edinburgh.
Oh, I thought you were going to say on a delay in traffic.
Yeah, but I would have been here earlier, but yeah. No, I appreciate the comment.
Whatever we've changed doesn't seem to be working. I think we need to look at a different style or a different.
Híjole, now you just, I thought we had an easy fix here, and now you're saying.
And for me, it's, we called it the herding. We're doing the herding. We herd everybody and kept going, but now the herding is so backed up that you're a constant herding. Herd in each and every light. So that's why I think.
Because aren't you guys green up there? Isn't that you up there?
Yeah, green is bad.
Green is bad.
Yeah, we suggest we.
Red is good.
Yeah.
Red is good and green is bad.
Yeah, but what I was.
Who gave you the crayons?
No, what I was meeting with the staff about tomorrow,
confusing
and
me now.
actually I'm meeting with them out in the field tomorrow, is they say they have the highest enrollment at the college than they've ever had before. So the 19 was done, right when COVID was getting ready to hit. The volumes began to dive at that point, and literally when you do signal timing, and I don't know, Pete can speak also about this and others, but signal timing normally lasts about 3 or 4 years because there's change in volumes, there's growth, there's anytime you have a new business, change in patterns, and that's how you go out and you count the intersections, you count the cars, you allow for like 3 or 4 years of growth during that time, but it's not something you set it and forget it. Promise you that. So it's an ongoing thing, and the 3 or 4 years is a good time, because I mean, just for example, if you have 100 cars doing, like this morning when I was talking with the guys, there was one movement where we had 40 cars making that left turn 4 years ago. And now they say, cars sit through 3 or 4 cycles to get through. Well, obviously something changed. 40 cars is one car every minute. That's like 1 car every cycle, on 107. So, things change. So we're going to go out there tomorrow morning, I'm going to do some pro bono work, to help them make some tweaks to it, because at least the staff there are familiar with it and operations, that you don't just randomly, when you're doing coordination, you don't just go out there and start making changes, because when you make one change at one intersection, it affects all of them on the whole corridor. So, no, I appreciate your comments and questions, and there's no doubt that it's time to take a look at it again. But I haven't got any calls from Edinburgh in the last 3 years, so hopefully it's been working, pretty well during that time. But yeah, it's time to look at it again.
Gabe?
No.
Yeah, everybody heard that. Everybody heard it.
How many intersections did you say you skipped at the calendar that the city McCallum was
He's
serving?
told, man, he doesn't have any traffic lights.
153.
That lump summed into your fee?
No, I didn't do those. I didn't do those.
No, I understand you didn't, but I'm saying for your overall study area, did you charge for those services, or can we now look at additional intersections because those weren't looked at?
I think that'll get to it on the next topic.
The number of intersections that we did not account for anything in McCollum because of those. So the ones that we did were absent of those that were already being addressed. Thank you. I got you. Plus, you're trying to get a free ride, I understand.
No, I'm just saying, I don't like it, I work with contractors every day, and the word pro bono doesn't work out.
You've never heard it before? Normally, we don't do this, but Gabe is either saying hello to me or he wants to be recognized. The city manager at Harlingen.
Judge, I was doing both. I was saying.
Okay.
I'm not trying to understand the question about what cities maintain their own signal lights, but Harlingen maintains its own signal lights.
It's over, you said it's over 50,000, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
there are 6 cities in the valley: Brownsville, Harlingen.
We're at 75,000. I mean,
Right.
71,000.
It's Brownsville, Harlingen,
Yeah, well-
McCollum, FAR, Mission, and then
In Edinburgh, that's
Because the signals that were looked at in the city of Harlingen, and we can look at them again, but last time we looked at them, the ones that were found to be needing some work were ones that, like on Tyler and Harrison.
Yeah.
And TxDOT takes care of the box dime, I'll call it a box, right there at the intersection with the expressway. But to update Tyler Harrison or any of those that cross Tyler Harrison, that box would have to be maintained or be modified also. So we went out there and tried to do some work there last time, and we can sure take a look at it again this next time.
Yeah, I think we all saw green and didn't see any, oh, that looks pretty good, but actually what you're saying is that the green for Cameron County is actually worse than what we saw on the previous map for Hidalgo County.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the choice of colors, but the green is just those.
Yeah, thank God, you're not in charge of our traffic control device, otherwise we'd be running where we're supposed to. I'm just kidding.
I will point
Usually
out-
green means go,
I
but,
will point out Steve is an actor.
well,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say anything after this past weekend, so.
I'll use
There you
the
go,
green
that
next
explains it.
time.
We're done. Move on.
Chair, if I may, just one quick
Rather
comment.
be lucky than good.
Yeah, if you look at the legend obviously states that green is poor, but we'll take a look at the color scheme, I think, for the next go-around. I do want to address Tom's comment. I think that's really, really important that we all recognize we got to modernize our system, folks.
is priority.
This issue with loops, detection and what have you, a loop goes bad, and I think Steve is more of an expert in this area than me, but if a loop goes bad, all of a sudden it throws all the timing off, it reverts back to the original timing sequence and does not detect when vehicles are coming. We need to go to a radar system or a vivid system where it's radar detected and the chances of that happening are greatly minimized.
So when how much more is needed in order to complete your CMP, the CMP?
Well, let's,
We're gonna get
let's,
to that in the next.
Okay.
next slide, I
All right,
think. Or
sorry,
Not
sorry.
only that, but
Go ahead.
just for time, this is kind of a summary of what's happened over, like Tom was saying, the last few years. What signals have been addressed and taken care of. So there was some work in 16, some work in 20, some locally funded work between FAR, McAllen, and Brownsville. Then go ahead and one more slide, and I thought I had one more slide. It must have not. There it is. There it is. And Pete, this kind of goes to your point here, and I think this is pretty telling. But as part of, when you do a signal timing job, you first want to go out and kind of evaluate the current level of the equipment. Look at the cabinets, the controllers, the detection system, as Pete is saying. And when that was done in 19, prior to doing that work, these are the results we found. So at that time, we did, 26, 48, 62, that was 77 intersections in that study. And of that, you can see the results of those number of intersections that had poor operating or had non-working, equipment. So it ranged anywhere from 30% to 75%, within those cities that were included at that time. So what that means is even if you do signal timing, if the detection systems aren't working at all in that case, then you really don't get the benefit of that. So that's really where a focus needs to occur within the individual cities. And TxDOT too. I mean, TxDOT maintains their stuff too. So we were seeing similar results. So we'd hope to see 10 to 15% of the intersections that have bad equipment that need to be planned for the next year and so forth. So to have these number of high locations or high percentage locations that have underperforming operations really highlights what the point that he made, that whenever you have asphalt roads, you have inductance loops or wires in the road, it's a recipe for disaster. It just doesn't last. Sure, it works, but just the heating and the truck traffic and turning movements.
So this has a title of 2019. I'm assuming you started in 2019, you finished now, and that's where you're presenting?
No, this was the assessment 19, and we, based on these results, we then put in some new timing at that time, right before COVID hit. And now some of those intersections are working well.
So do you have a slide that doesn't say 2019, says 2021 or 2022 to see what it looks like now?
Right, this was the previous study. I mean, these are the results of the previous study. These percentages you're seeing here.
We haven't done the current one.
We haven't
Are you
done
going
any
to show
new
us the
timing.
current data?
We haven't done any new timing, no.
This is what they're asking, do 2020.
Right,
That's what you want to do now.
Exactly.
We haven't done it since 2019.
correct. Yeah, so there was a previous study in 19, and in addition to operations, what this slide is talking about is, in addition to signal timing, what we expect to see in the field is operations of the loops and detection system, and the technology is not working either. So that'll need to be maintenance issues within the city.
How long does it take you to do this kind of study?
We
A
started
year,
in
6 months?
this was the spring of this year, so 6 months, 9 months. To do signal timing, if we were to do signal timing like we're talking about that's needed going forward, it would probably be, it could be implemented, depends on school and summers, things like that, within 6 to 9 months.
The signal timing is part of the addendum, the part of the additional work?
That y'all have on the agenda, right, that's part of the recommendations going
Okay.
forward, right. Which is on the next topic, I think.
Yes. All right. So you're done with this item?
Yeah, this was the draft, and I'll plan to come back in October and November with the final results.
All right. Can I have a motion to acknowledge the report? Motion and a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 3, discussion and action to extend the winter congestion study contract.
Yes, sir. Built upon the information that Mr. Taylor just provided, staff is asking for the board to consider and approve an addendum to the contract, extending it from October 24, 2022 to September 29, 2023, to do an analysis of the 172 priority intersections. The cost of the contract would be $383,936, and we ask the board to approve that. It would be for an assessment and information back, so we hope to visit for some operational improvement funds in the future so that we can address the outcome of that addendum.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Andrew with regards to the addendum and the additions?
Yeah, so,
Go ahead, Ray.
Mr. Chairman, so the 383 is just to do the analysis. I mean, it's not going to make any improvements to these intersections.
No, sir, it's to look at it and then do an analysis of the timings and then to coordinate with any cities that may want to implement some of those timings, but it's not to go out and do any field work to do any implementation. We would certainly want to visit with all the cities before that and coordinate with them on what the outcome of the timings were.
And where's the funding going to come from to do the actual work?
In other words, the recommendations?
Well, right now, this all comes out of our PL. Anything above that, we would probably come back to the policy board and ask like what we did before when we were still the Hidalgo County MPO and see if we could seek $1 million out of the Category 7 funding for the improvements like we did before. The city of Mission was the fiduciary agent, and it allowed us to go out and buy timers, clocks, boxes, controllers, information, all that type of material like that, and it worked well. And this would be a more regional approach because then we'd be able to include Brownsville.
Those are the items that you're talking about, Pete, or?
Those
In other words, okay,
Cabinets, their signals, their
Right.
loops and what have you.
the radar system.
But instead of loops, what I'm recommending is to go radar.
Right.
Modernize them.
Right.
Well, that's what I want to make clear, that these items is the radar solution as opposed to the loop system.
Well,
Okay.
the solution we would leave up to the individual cities. That would certainly be a recommendation, but I
Okay.
mean, we have gone out before and seen where like loops have been cut because of new pavement or whatnot. And a lot of that had to be repaired last time before we could move forward. We also identified a great number of pedestrian buttons on intersections that weren't working, so we were able to have the cities provide that information so they could go out and fix that. So we want to try to do this, even with the city of Brownsville. We work closely with Ms. Ramirez and her office and the city manager because there was no detection system. And now some of that has been implemented, so we're able to do that and work on those timings. But without the detection system, you can't implement any type of timing to an intersection.
Okay.
So we're trying to make suggestions that will slowly over time. What I'd like to do, to Roy's point, is maybe as we do UTP updates in the future, identify
Include-
funding for a set aside to do it maybe by region or quadrants. I know Dallas does something very similar, that they divided up their region in fours, and they go around, and every 4 years it comes back around for operational improvements to the area and that. So we would hope to be able to get on that type of schedule in the near future to address this.
And I mean, just for perspective, when we spent $3.5 million on this, something
Right.
so.
Over how long, Roy?
Well, we started right before the pandemic, and so we actually had to halt it because the traffic patterns went to hell, and waited until they came back to normal. We just finished it in April, but it was, it was comprehensive. It was every controller, every box, every loop.
And have you noticed an improvement?
Yes, absolutely.
Clearly.
Yeah, Brownsville also spent about $1 million on improvements, we've been working, I'd like to see the results, is it really?
Well, according to the color map, we're not seeing them yet, but
So, as for Edinburgh, we want to get to spend more than $1 million to work on this, especially for the 107 corridor. So my question is, could we, since Steve is already going to be doing out there, can I contract him off your?
and he said pro bono.
One time,
No, for sure,
Brad.
there's nothing free in this world, so.
Don't ever use that word again.
Yeah. I want to piggyback if possible off of your contract with Steve, so I can start implementing those changes while he's already there. Purchase the equipment, get everything going. That way I don't have to procure another traffic engineer or a study to do it. He's already there. I pay for the Edinburgh section and move forward with those changes.
Well, I would like to say to that, Tom, I don't have any concern if the board doesn't, but it does also make me point out that I missed to say that the extension on the contract through procurement has been properly vetted and signed off. And I know Mr. Cruz couldn't be here today, but we have followed all the policies, and that's in your packet. It's been signed off on for board approval.
Well,
I just wanted to state that.
Yeah,
on-
but
following
on the
that, I mean,
procurement, so-
the-
But he could.
what the board is going, will vote on, and if approved, is for Steve and his company to continue the work for the MPO
Correct.
as outlined. Now, if we have individual members, that would be between,
Yes.
and I wouldn't see
But
why.
Judge, can we pass it also contingent on, I mean, we can add things, I mean, we all the ultimate authority, we're the board. I understand you have but we're the ones that have to execute the item at hand. So we can modify it if that's what the board wants,
The contract?
yeah?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, so I hope all the cities get the help that they need on behalf of the MPO.
Well, he,
I
yeah,
think he has over and above what we have identified,
Yeah.
though, to look at is what he's
Okay.
asking for,
And I just
so,
want to piggyback off of that contract.
yes, sir.
With Steve.
And we should allow you to do it, that's my point.
yeah, in other words, I don't think there ought to be an issue between any city and working with Steve and his company to address whatever issues, hey, you're gonna be out there, exactly. And if it costs you, well, it ought to be a savings since the quote-unquote infrastructure, the team's already out there, so.
Exactly.
If I can make one point that I think may help address one of your questions is, within the scope, there's actually two distinct elements in terms of the numbers. One is to first go out and evaluate and do a self-assessment of the equipment. And that one, we say 173 locations. But in terms of doing signal timing, some of those 173 aren't going to be in a condition ready to do signal timing, whether the cabinets and the controllers aren't ready for that, they're old enough. I mean,
Right.
you know, from McAllen, y'all replace millions of dollars of equipment. So what we say is we say up to 100 of those will be carried forward to then do single timing in coordination with the cities. You know, I'll do the analysis and make those recommendations and then work with the cities to let them implement that timing without any new equipment. That may mean the city's gonna go out and do some maintenance on detection, things like that they may be able to do either in-house or through contractors, things like that. But that doesn't include the need to totally replace, you know, cabinets and controllers, things like that, that will be more long-term planning, like Tom is looking to do going forward.
As we consider possibly budgeting for additional services, I think it's important and imperative for the sustainability of the system that we consider maintenance. You just said a key word, maintenance, that each city has the staffing and the know-how, the certifications of in-house maintenance of the system. Because sometimes you go drive through a light and you see a lightning storm happens and it needs to be reset. There's nobody out there that knows how to do it. They have to go call a service person that will provide that reset. And usually right now, with the old system, you open the box and push the reset button, that was it. There's nothing hard about it. But when we upgrade to radar and go to all of these sophisticated systems, you need to have the know-how before you break something. And I think we should consider training and budget for that also.
If I may take this opportunity just to kind of bring it all together. So studies and analysis are being done, recommendations will be provided, then there's the actual construction, the needs out there. And so I say Hidalgo County MPO at the time, passed $1 million to improve. I want to remind everybody, this is pennies on the dollars. When we're talking about congestion and what have you and delays, it costs a lot of money to add roadway, add pavement and asphalt and what have you. It costs pennies on the dollars to do operational improvements that will give us a result and improvement in traffic flows that much quicker. So I challenge all of us to be thinking outside the box, finding ways to be more operationally sensitive to be able to move traffic. Projects do take time to develop, environmental schematics and all that good stuff. But these type of projects, we get a benefit quicker than quick. Just wanted to make sure we all understand that.
Very valid point.
All right. Any further questions? If not, is there a motion? Motion to approve, second? Second by City of Edinburgh? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 4, discussion and action on Category 7 funding request for highway projects.
Yes, sir, that'll be Rudy.
Good afternoon, board members. So previously, through both the Technical Advisory Committee and this board, this summary sheet and the list of all the priority requests were presented and reviewed. It was recommended by board members and our chairman that we go back and meet with those local governments or planning partners that had any concerns on projects that may have been in concern or that we needed to address. We went ahead and did so. We felt that they were productive meetings, and we will look forward to future funding opportunities for any of those prioritized projects that aren't receiving proposed funding at this time. However, this summary has not changed. There was not any additional money added to the list of projects. And within this packet, if we can go to the next slide, please, is a summary sheet that we will use for public involvement. As required by the federal government, FHWA, we will be having at least a 30-day public involvement period. We're hoping to begin next month for the month of October. So this summary sheet lists all of the priority requests that are being proposed for funding at this time, as well as the remaining tables that were in the remaining slides in the packet today that were previously viewed by both TAC and policy. I'd be happy to address any questions or concerns regarding these projects or any other projects for that matter at this time. Just let board members know that this is an action item for today, so we can take these projects to public involvement and begin developing our drafts of both our short and long range plan.
The list,
Yes, sir.
there we go.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Rudy or for Andrew?
I have just
Go
some
ahead, Commissioner.
general comments.
Go ahead,
I
Commissioner.
appreciate the follow-up meetings that we had with you guys.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. I think there are a lot of good projects that didn't get funded. They ranked well, they've progressed, they've been worked on, people, cities, counties, the precinct have invested a lot of money to try to get these projects ready, and there's unfortunately a lot of them that didn't get funded. So, yes, I appreciate your comment that there's still a lot of unfunded projects that have some development that's already in the works, and I hope that we give those priority this next go around, because if we're investing that kind of money to prepare these projects and get them ready, then we should be given some strong consideration. I do appreciate that it seems like everybody got something out of this. It sounds like your meetings with the individual cities went well, and I'm speaking on behalf of Hidalgo County, that, you know, everybody kind of was satisfied with the outcome of this. I know that we're gonna be helping a regional project as well, which I think is an important part of all of this. It would've been nice had we been able to get everything that we wanted. Of course, we have a limited amount of funding. But I do hope that as we move forward, that we'll all continue to be mindful that as we invest in these projects, not only do they take a long time to do the environmental, to get your AFAs, you know, the functional classification and the entire process, we can't delay these projects by causing our own internal issues. I hope that in the spirit of real cooperation that we'll continue to work together to make sure that as we invest in these projects, that there's strong consideration from TxDOT, asking Pete, that our AFAs be worked on, you know, as in the spirit of really trying to advance these projects, because some of these didn't get funding because they can't get AFAs. And that's very stressful. It's very frustrating to invest millions to get projects ready to go, and then we kind of just get stuck. And then we have to go through a whole year of trying to find funding for these projects. And there's a lot of good projects that got good scores that didn't get any money. So I hope that as we move forward, that there's truly a spirit of cooperation amongst all the parties here at the table, including the MPO, the cities, the county, TxDOT, all of us, and obviously the RMA, and our Cameron County sponsors as well. So I think that since everybody is, at least from our opinion, it seems like everybody in the Hidalgo County side seems to be somewhat satisfied and taken care of. You know, I'm okay with moving forward with the recommendation as being presented, and that's being presented by you guys in this meeting. You know?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Chairman.
I'll take that as a motion. And a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah,
sir.
Go ahead.
just for the record, I will be abstaining from this vote.
Oh, really?
Yes, these are off-system projects and
You're not a board member today?
board member, but I choose to abstain for the off-system projects. Sir.
I would, from the staff side, like to just clarify, Chairman, the motion that we're asking for today to be voted on is that this project listing that is before you is the list that will move forward for public involvement. And after completion of 30 days of successful public involvement at a later time, this list will be brought back to the policy board for final adoption.
That is your motion.
That motion can be approved.
All right. I think Commissioner Wilson?
On the other sheet, what's the difference between this sheet and the next page?
If we could roll to the next slide, Johnny, please. So this incorporates every single project that was involved in the prioritization process.
Itemized.
So our individual meetings that we had with our planning partners, just as the commissioner just mentioned, not every single project, unfortunately, at this time can be proposed for funding. However, it does incorporate those projects that are not highlighted as projects that were prioritized by the local governments, recognized by staff, and brought to both TAC and policy. So we want to incorporate every project that was involved in the process.
That's a very good question, and I like the clarity because it follows up on what Commissioner Fuentes is pointing out. If the individual city or county or an entity feels a change in priority, over time, and this listing or priority doesn't work or the scoring doesn't work, then I think it's incumbent upon the city, the county, whoever, to go ahead and address, you know what, we've got priority number 3 ready to go, and we have an issue with priority number 1 or 2. We got it. And that was something that when we were merging the MPOs, we all were adamant about. Number 1, that we wanted to have as many shovel-ready projects as possible to put the pressure on Mr. Abstention, and And more than anything, because we all need to work with each other, because and I think we are doing that, Commissioner. But I understand your pain and your frustration, but I think we're getting there. And the reality is, we're doing better. We still need to do more. But thank you to everybody, and especially staff for putting this together. So we have a motion to approve as recommended and presented by.
If I can comment, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Mayor.
First of all, I want to thank the entire board, and specifically you, Chairman and Vice Chairman. It's a lot of headaches, a lot of pressure points that are being applied. Everybody wants to get what they want, and I just want the residents of the entire program to let you know that with this gentleman's leadership has really stood above. Really, you guys have done a lot. Obviously, I didn't get everything I wanted. Nobody did. But you guys looked at it from a region standpoint. And that's what it's supposed to be, a region standpoint. And so I want to thank you both. Judge, first and foremost, thank you. And thank you for looking out for everybody for Cameron County and Hidalgo County. Commissioner Fuentes, thank you again for always supporting Hidalgo County and its projects. And when I say Hidalgo County, obviously I don't mean your organization. I mean an entire population of cities. Because without your leadership, we couldn't come together. We'd be trying to take each other's head off. But you're very calm and collective, a man of reason, and I appreciate that. And I want to personally thank you for that.
Absolutely. All right, we have a second. City Mission? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Rudy.
And just as a reminder, as we get closer to January, all of us, both individually and collectively, as we work on our legislative agenda, we need to go up to Austin and lobby as loudly and respectfully as we possibly can. I do want to recognize Chairman Canales for holding a regional hearing in Brownsville at the UTRGV campus with regards to Transportation Committee. I will tell you that I had the opportunity to give a welcome, and as I gave the welcome, I also laid out the priorities for the MPO. I don't know if I was supposed to, but I did it. So anyway, Item 5, discussion on the RGV Thoroughfare Plan Amendment.
Yes, good afternoon. Just wanted to go ahead and touch base that we've went ahead and started our annual process for amending the thoroughfare plan. What you see up right now on the screen, that's the form. It's a digital form now. Before we used to use a PDF form, so now this is a digital Office 365 form, which makes it a lot easier to collect the responses. After everybody submitted, it generates an Excel table where all the amendments will be recorded. After that, once we receive all of the amendments, we're going to be going ahead and bringing it forward to the TAC and policy for approval. And once approved, we'll go ahead and take them over to the county commissioners' courts. We did have the kickoff meeting already, and we're going to have another meeting on October 6th, where we're going to go ahead and touch base again with all of the TAC members and all of the committee members of the thoroughfare plan. And after that, we're going to go ahead and submit it. The deadline submittal is December 21st. So December 21st is the cutoff for this amendment process. And of course, there'll be an opportunity again next August when we open it up again. And that's pretty much what I wanted to cover as far as the thoroughfare plan. If there's any questions as far as the process and anything, that I've spoken about right now, the form. And one last thing I failed to mention was that all of the amendments that come forward to the MPO have to be accompanied by an ordinance or a resolution by the cities. Now, if it's the county, it's a little bit different. Since we take our resolution over to the county commissioners' courts, what we're needing is actually a letter from county commissioners supporting the amendment to the thoroughfare plan / right-of-way. So that's what I've got as far as the thoroughfare plan amendment process for this year.
When do you plan to bring that to us?
It's already open, sir. So right now, we had our initial meeting on the 25th. Oh, to the Commissioner's Court? Well, Commissioner's Court, sorry about that. We're looking into March of next year, when we've collected all the amendments and, ready to present.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
So that we can pass it through our legal, they're usually the ones.
And for
Definitely.
anyone unfamiliar, the thoroughfare plan is the staff way of working with all of the local governments for the preservation of right-of-way. So if you happen to have a roadway that there's going to be a possibility of added capacity in the future, widening, a way to preserve that right-of-way so as things are built out, you don't have a stripe store right on the corner to the curb, and then it becomes a very costly situation for you. So we try to work with you on preservation of that right-of-way now, so you can work as everything starts to develop and all your prospective respective communities, so that way to preserve that right away, so it's not more expensive in the future for project development.
Any other questions? If not, can I have a motion to acknowledge? Motion by Commissioner?
Thank you.
Second? Second. Who's that, Pete? You're back? Okay. All in favor? All opposed, motion carries. Man, I want to roll today. Item 6, presentation and discussion on RGVMPO transportation alternative set aside, Cat 9 funds, Category 9 funds.
Hello again. Good afternoon. I wanted to be really brief today. I know I come to you all pretty frequently about TASA, Transportation Alternative Set Aside. So I have like a really brief presentation and just wanted to give you some visuals on some of the other programs. The first visual is on the bicycle and pedestrian counter data program, and it's a heat map of the regional counter program that's going on now. You can kind of see the daily average counts of pedestrians and cyclists in different parts of the region on our trails. And in the next map, you can kind of see it counter by counter in the different communities and the different trails that they're in. I think right now San Benito, Resaca Haven Trail has the highest counts for cyclists and pedestrians in there being used. I guess it's the one major trail. But then I wanted to show you also visually a map of Hidalgo County and the active transportation facility inventory we're doing. So we're trying to standardize the data across the region and what we have. And so there's off-street and on-street infrastructure that we're focusing on. The next image shows Cameron County's inventory. And so again, we're trying to create like a really high quality standardized regional data. Go ahead. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, and so we're working on developing this further. We've talked about adding proposed routes and transit routes, but this is just a highlight that I wanted to show you, and I really wanted to focus on the TASA projects, but
I would encourage you to reach out to our office, either at the precinct level or through our budget department, or not budget, but our GASB department there at the county.
Sure.
We just did a street inventory
Great.
of everything inside of our county. With mapping, layering of all kinds of different things, whether it's drainage, whether it's stop signs, sidewalks, lights. You don't have
Bus
to start,
stops.
I don't know about that, but it has pictures, it has video, it has a whole bunch of information.
Awesome.
So you're not starting from scratch. I'm sure that there's probably some way for us to be able to share those files with you, so that you're already kickstarted and you can just
Thank
add
you.
and layer in what you need to. So just want to let you know that we'll be a resource for you. Don't start from scratch there.
I really appreciate that. I'm sure our mapping guys are all taking notes, and ladies, so we'll be taking that into consideration. But this is just a development. We want to incorporate all the TASA projects in these maps and kind of track our growth of the network over time, moving forward. But I've come back and said this again. We have our fiscal year 2019, 2020 projects. We have 4.5 million just about in federal, of the federal award. We must obligate these federal funds by next August. You can see in blue underlined, there are 3 projects that we have worked with to amend the advanced funding agreement and either reduce railroad concerns or reduce the limits and even reroute in one of the other projects. So we've been working with the communities in trying to get them more able to develop their projects within the timeline. So I wanted to come back and really say, like, this is a big concern. We have all this funding and all these projects, and it's kind of like on the wire to get these projects to obligate their funds by next August. And then in the next slide, you'll see the projects that were awarded last year in 21 and 22. It's been about 1 year since we have awarded these projects, and they've been programmed by the policy board. But we've only had 2 out of 6 projects execute their AFA. And so these projects do have until, I think, August 2025 to obligate their funds. But again, it's a concern because it's taken at least a year just to, get the advanced funding agreements executed. And so this is really, bringing this home because next year, we've estimated about 11 million in TASA funds for the RGVMPO region. This is more money than we've seen in any other program call. You saw 2019, 2020 between 2 MPOs, Brownsville MPO and Hidalgo County MPO at the time. There was 4.5 million. Last year we programmed about 2.3 million. And so this year we're looking at over at least over 10 million, but this is what our estimates are. And so I really wanted to give everyone a heads up. We're not opening this call for projects anytime soon. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee is working to revise the application, the scoring criteria, the whole competitive process. There's been some new BIL requirements as well. And so we're working to revise the program call and our application and our guidance. But while we're working on that, I wanted to encourage the communities to work on developing shovel-ready projects. We're doing a minimum of 10% for planning, that's 1.1 million. So feasibility studies, looking at, surveying, environmental assessments. We talked about environmentals have like a 5-year shelf life. So if we could get some work being done for the PE side of some of these projects, I feel more comfortable programming about $11 million and making sure that they're obligated. Because per federal requirements, no fault of our own, these funds do lapse after the 3 to 4 year time period. And so I just wanted to drive that nail home. And I'm open for any questions if you have any.
Okay, let's clarify, because
Yes,
that's the last point you made is the one that I was going to ask about. Normally with these funds, there's about a 3-year letting window?
Correct.
Correct? Okay. So, and I don't have all the slides on my computer.
Sure,
but,
I didn't put them in the attachment. Right.
right now, if I heard you correctly, and what I'm looking at, we've got programmed $4.5 million for this, by next fiscal year, by next September.
Yes.
Okay. So we're hoping to have 11 for fiscal year 23-24.
Programming, yes.
Program, okay. So in other words, what you're telling us is that we have to get these projects shovel-ready, get the AFAs done. Hopefully, that way you can program 11 million. And also that we not lose any of the 4.5 that we have programmed right now, and that if we don't get these projects that they're dedicated to ready to roll, we stand to lose potential funds.
The region, yes. That there's no way of keeping that in the region. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I can definitely be wrong. But my understanding is that once that time period, once we're here next 2023, those funds will be lost to the region.
So then these 9 projects, valley-wide, that total the 4.5, everyone, whoever has this, we've got to make sure that they're all shovel-ready.
Yeah, these are actually been under development, from 2021, 2020. They need to be ready to be bid and let, yeah.
By no later than
Yes.
September. Okay, that's my point. And then the additional 11 million for projects that are not on the current list, we need to
Right.
get those ready
To apply.
to apply.
Right, exactly.
All right.
So in the next image, and I'm so sorry, I'll come back to you. We, like last year, a year ago, for all intents and purposes, 12 months ago, we awarded 2.3 million, and 12 months later, we have 2 executed advance funding agreements. And so that's just the agreement, that's not the project development side. So we're losing time into these other projects as well. And I mean, our goal is to keep the money in the region and put it in the ground, or in the plans. But you understand kind of what I'm saying. So I'm sorry, please.
We can't afford to lose the money, so.
Should we have a different time, a different calendar for these projects to, commit to the project? Otherwise, we should be looking at, moving the money elsewhere. I mean, the chances of us losing money is terrible.
That's the last thing any of us should want.
So let's wait until September, don't we wanna have another date to move that money?
Well, and your point is dead on, Roy, but I will say, Eva and TxDOT staff, visit on a very regular basis to see where the project development is, probably every 2 weeks. And as we get closer, so we don't run into a scenario like we did with Donna, unfortunately, that did lose the money. And we really try to push and prod, if you will, all the way on that. So we're meeting regularly. If we see the situation, what falls into a problem for us is on the $4 million is, even if in another month or two, if we saw it being unrealistic to move forward, it would become problematic to think that another local government could let that project within 10 months. And that would be, we're already at the crossroads on that $4 million.
But you could, I'm sorry, but you could also, it's not that you have to give it to, I'm not going to give it to another local government to start from scratch. They may have a project that actually could be made bigger just by having extra funding to it. That's already been approved to it. So I'm with Rory, what he's about to say. If we need to set at some point a timeline that if you're not going to reach it within, I don't know, whatever time frame the board wants,
Right.
then, if, for instance, if I have a project and there's happens to be another 500,000 or $2 million, and I can expand mine because I already been approved for it.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
yeah, I want to absolutely. I don't want to lose it to somebody else, but I think the
Taking
board needs to
into
decide at what timetable that is.
And I agree with you, Mayor. We're not saying the board shouldn't be by any means. It's just there's other things like AFAs and that have to be taken into consideration that can be executed and completed within that timeline to move that money over to another project. It's-
Johnny, go back to the last
Staff
slide.
is by no means saying, if you have 10 months left, put it over on another project and move forward.
I don't understand the argument.
Yeah, I really don't.
We get to September and you've only got 2 out of 9,
Mm-hmm.
why would we do that?
I
But
want
there may
to,
be a project in a community that, in that same community that can use that money. And the question is that may already have an AFA and maybe that project gets augmented or accelerated in the same community.
I just want to interject because we have been working right to, I think the McAllen's project got additional funding from the bike share program that we terminated, and we still haven't executed that AFA amendment. And we came to the board a couple months back.
Yeah, who controls the AFA?
The additional funds.
Is that you, Pete? Or who's doing the
Communities
AFAs?
in Texas.
We do the AFAs.
Got it.
It'll take 4 to 6 months to do an AFA, provided that all the information is correct. And so that's where we get hung up, and sometimes there's concerns with delays on AFAs being executed. Well, if the information is not available for TxDOT to execute an AFA, we can't move forward.
But assuming a project like McAllen's, it was ready, and they're just saying to expand on it. So they already got their AFA. They're just adding. So you already have all the documentation of what they're doing and just expanding the scope. I don't see why you would have to take another 4 to 6 months to approve an additional AFA on that project.
An amendment to an AFA
An amendment,
could be expedited,
Okay.
once again, once that information is provided to us.
Okay.
A couple of the projects have changed routes, right? We've changed limits, and so that also affects the environmental approval, and that sometimes has to be redone. If there's preliminary engineering, utility conflicts, right-of-way concerns. So it's not that, I mean, we've been trying to help the communities in getting, being able to obligate their funds on time. I kind of think now being a regional MPO and looking at these funds all together, we're discussing for that next program call, we're going to have a deadline, hopefully with your approval, include a deadline to execute an AFA for future funded projects. Include a deadline to make amendments to those AFAs incorporate information for the project information form and other things that are required for that AFA development. We are going to be reworking this guide, the application, and the entire process because of some of these challenges that we've been looking at and learning about.
So for now,
Motion to adjourn.
what would a conservative estimate be if there was an amendment or an extension on one of these AFAs?
3 to 4 months, Ramon, to do an amendment, 3 to 4 months.
So we're looking at now to be able to conserve and save that funding is moving on those now.
Yeah. And that's Roy's point. So an AFA would take hopefully 6 months, all information correct. An amendment will still take 3 or 4 months?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I just want to say, like, because I do work with TxDOT pretty regularly on project development and being a part of those meetings, they're doing a phenomenal job, I think, trying to juggle all of these projects and making sure they're all moving forward. I think what we need to see is more communication from the local governments to TxDOT and seeing more of those milestones being met. And I say that with all the respect that I understand everyone is under capacity and overworked. There's a lot of projects going on, but unfortunately, these funds do lapse. And so prioritizing, putting these in the ground first is my recommendation for these communities that have projects.
Those with asterisks have anything.
The ones with asterisks have economic development counties, wait,
Disadvantaged
EDC.
county. Economic
EDC.
disadvantaged.
I was like, wait, I'm saying this wrong.
Economic
Thank you.
disadvantaged county.
They have EDC funds towards them. The ones underlined in blue need the AFA amendment in this one.
Because my FA was executed July 14th, so I just wanted to make sure.
Your project is funded, I mean, in the ground, right? Like it's been let? Okay.
I do want to take
2014 is a while back.
an opportunity to recognize Eva from the MPO staff that since she's come on board, there's a lot more attention being brought to these projects. Her working very closely with our staff, who also does a great job, the planning department, to make things happen. Just want to also bring to everybody's attention that there's a lot of heavy lifting that needs to be done to get a project ready, right? But once a project is awarded, we got 3 years to obligate the funds. So 3 years should be plenty of time if you're doing the heavy lifting as you go to be able to obligate the funding for that particular project. But it takes local governments putting in the effort to get that legwork done up front. And we, MPO, I can't speak for the MPO, but at TxDOT, we're here to help out, and I know the MPO as well.
Thank you.
And that's the key, and that's why I wanted to be sure that my colleagues heard this, right? Because at the end of the day, whether it's McAllen, Mission Fire, whoever it is, I got to put the effort in. I got to make sure it gets done. Irrelevant to COVID, my people got to work, they got to move it, because I have a timeline. And if I'm doing, my argument has always been, if one of us on this board is doing what they're supposed to do, I shouldn't be punished for it, for being on time. As a matter of fact, I should be rewarded. And if my other colleagues aren't on top of it, I understand that, but we're not going to let funds lapse. So we should be able to move those with all due respect to make sure they don't lapse, and those who did follow the rules and are aggressive, moving it along, get rewarded for it. And so I think we do need to look at this.
Well, yeah, we'll be revising the scoring criteria, and so I'll be sure to be presenting that and having plenty of time for that public comment period and time to get feedback on future scoring criteria, because if that's something we can incorporate in how we rank and score and award projects, I think that would be something that might change.
Do you officially know if any of those projects up there, are they at risk of losing any fundings?
I mean,
Based on, or do you?
they're all, in my
whoever.
opinion, of equal risk right now because it is September 2022.
Yeah, but
Right.
some aren't, because like he's got FAA, I'm going out already for contract, so it's not updated. So that's not really true. I want to know who's really behind it. There's no way in this God green earth they're going to make it.
Okay,
Right?
yeah.
Wow, she's,
We need to know.
I will look in, I'll
Remember,
look
we
deeper
have-
into it, and I'll
we're
send
gonna
an
lose-
email out about those projects that we're very concerned about. For now, I will say that the ones that have not executed their AFA amendment should really focus on getting that agreement finalized and amended. Yes, it should have, yeah, in my opinion, it should have been,
Yes.
And hopefully
Exactly.
TxDOT will help anybody
Exactly.
with amendments to go faster rather than.
Yeah, and we're all partners here, so it's
I agree. No, I don't have that answer right away. I mean, I'll look deeper into it.
yeah, so out of that 4.5 million and then the 2.3 million in the following year, you had how many applications
So-
that didn't get awarded?
In the last program call was the first one that the RGVMPO did as a region, and there were probably 2 projects that didn't get awarded. And so I know one was from FAR, I can't remember where the other one was from, but they were 2 construction projects that didn't get awarded. That being said, I feel like all of these projects submitted a federal request for less than $1 million. And so my big fear in the next program call is that we have like 20 projects coming in at like $500,000 requests, because that would be a huge workload for the contract specialists, to us as managing it, and just seeing like a ton of small projects would be
So my
terrifying.
point was going to be that, all of us, when we apply for these monies, we're putting forth the effort to go get this money awarded to us. I find it kind of crazy that you wouldn't follow through with the whole project. I would think that you should have some sort of a time frame, a cutoff, and working backwards and giving the alternative projects a time frame
Okay.
to be able to, like, if you're going to say that it takes 6 months to get an AFA, then give them a year. And if those projects don't advance to a certain milestone, or at least they're not putting forth the effort, like Mayor's saying, like, they're not even trying, then you should really pull those monies out and award it to somebody else. I think if we're struggling to get all the information for an AFA, at least we're putting forth the effort. But if they're not putting forth the effort,
I hear you.
then we shouldn't blame them for losing their money if we're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah,
So-
I think that's definitely feasible for this round of projects, these 6 projects right here.
I'm just saying that if we're going to award $11 million,
Yeah.
and $3 million are going to go to waste because they're not going to put forth the effort in advancing it, and they're not even trying, then you shouldn't punish the people that didn't get awarded
Right.
and allow them the opportunity to get the 6 months or a year to develop the project because they put forth the effort to apply.
Fully
But I
understand.
don't think that we should be letting the money sit there. I think that's our fault for leaving it there and letting it get pulled back or clawed back.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I can definitely have more conversations with Mr. Cannon and TxDOT to see what we can do about that.
And I would like to say, Commissioner, that you're dead on. We actually had a full staff meeting across in the conference room this morning at 10 to talk about this very issue and what we're hoping to bring to the board. I know it's not all addressing what we have right now, but on the next program call, we're looking to incorporate deadlines for AFAs, for bid openings, for the full gamut, that if those aren't met as you go, we don't get to the fourth hurdle out of 5 before we make something on a corrective adjustment
But we
to
know
it.
that the projects never work out perfectly. I'm
Well, of
saying that
course
if they're
not.
not even trying, don't get mad at them for losing the money if we didn't take it back and give it to somebody else.
Yes, sir. No, and you're absolutely right. And that's why we want to set these milestones more definite in the future. So that way, when you're not meeting milestone 1, maybe a hiccup happened. When you're not meeting 2, maybe we need to start having a realistic
But they're gonna be
conversation about averting the funds.
They're gonna be communicating with Eva as like what their obstacles are, and at least you'll know.
Well-
They're not even trying.
But see, no, they need.
Sometimes more of that information honestly comes from Tech Stock, Commissioner, because we do talk to LGs at time that tell us, we're moving along and everything's great. And then we talk to Tech Stock and we find out something different.
But we ought to be able to have some kind of measurables, not just, hey, we're doing great, and that's it. No, you need to be able to show something.
Sure.
Yeah.
As much as I want to blame Pete, I can't put it all on him.
It's not Pete.
Because it's both. It's both. Now, once you hand it to him, and he'll say all the information's correct, and if it's not, well, that's up to us, and we got to make sure that we don't give TxDOT a reason to delay the AFA, and then. God
Yeah,
forbid, the
definitely.
last thing we want to do after fighting so hard to start getting these monies, let it, lapse or not getting it, especially when we've got a lot of deserving projects.
Agreed.
So it's a 50-50. We're all responsible. We need to be moving the projects. Even if we're not on the list, keep moving your project forward, because if somebody messes up, you got to be ready to rock and roll. Okay. All right. Can I have
Thank
a
you.
motion to acknowledge? Because this meeting was supposed to end about 20 minutes ago.
Oh.
Have a motion to, go ahead.
I still have a concern, we have not discussed a deadline for the current $4.5 million. I mean, I understand that.
Yes,
we're
Mayor.
working
You're right.
On future parameters, but what are we gonna do not to lose the $4.5 million? So I suggest that we have a deadline, maybe.
Like, what's a hard deadline so we don't lose the money?
Well, I think what we should do is give staff and administration the opportunity to come up with that timeline on those recommendations. We know we can't wait the 30 days. We've got to give some hard deadlines, and I think depending on when our next meeting's going to be, I think I was going to suggest that we get an update in the next 30 to 60 days, or whenever our next meeting is. That way Eva can have some opportunity with TxDOT to come up with some of these measurables, so that way we can set those timelines and deadlines.
There is a standing committee, right, on this?
There is a pedestrian, bicycle, yeah.
Yes.
I agree. I think we should allow staff and the Bicycle Advisory Committee to do their work, and really Eva reaches out to all our communities, does very well, works with TxDOT, give them the opportunity to give that recommendation.
And that's not to not have deadlines. I think what we're telling, we're doing the same thing we're doing for our regular projects. If you're not going to be ready, somebody else is going to utilize, because we're not going to waste money. We're not going to lose money anymore. We can't afford it.
So are we at risk of losing the money in the next 30 days?
In the next 30 days, no. In the next 12 months, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
So, yes, ma'am. But I mean, at least we have a window to let the staff come forward
But the 4.6
to address your concern.
is for next year. It's not
I'm
for this
coming
year.
a year in advance
Yeah.
as more of a warning. Sorry.
Deadline for the $4.5, September of
23,
'23?
correct.
So if one of those projects goes out, out of the list,
Yes,
then a new project needs to come in, and that project needs to have enough time
correct.
to meet the September 23 deadline.
Well, that's why we're
Yes,
saying
ma'am.
right now,
Yeah.
even if you're not on the list and you want to be ready, you have to do it yourself. I mean, you have to move the project.
And we did send out letters notifying everyone, a lapsing notification. And I believe I shared that with the policy and the TAC members. But we sent letters out in July or August notifying all the project sponsors that the funds will lapse. So,
I would call them too, because
sure.
I think I saw a name up there, and I know for sure they're not gonna do it.
Okay.
Because they said it was gonna cost more to do it through the federal process than just doing it themselves.
I definitely think I can come back in next month or before the end of the year to kind of notify.
No, next
what-
month.
Next
What do
meeting.
you mean
Next
next end of the year? Next month.
It's October, but yes.
And?
No.
Next month.
Next month I'll be here with
That's
the
the
list of
request, that's
projects.
my
Yes.
request.
We'll do it.
Okay.
All right, can I have a motion
Thank
to
you.
acknowledge? Motion by Commissioner Fuentes. Second. Thank, Mayor Sabanito, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right. Board members, we're supposed to be back for another meeting, so I've got 15 minutes to go, Andrew. So,
Okay,
Executive Director's report.
whatever you want, boss. Well, the first one
Well, you
is
can
the,
take over. You can take
sir?
over, Commissioner.
Oh, the highlights, yes, sir. The first one was, the discussion and, consensus on the meeting. We don't have anything for October, and I'm actually out of town, but it's the consensus of the board. I did visit with the chairman a little bit about this. Our next scheduled meeting after that is December 14th, to have is the combined meeting. Because we don't,
Yeah, what did we do in November of last year? Did we
same
have-
thing. We always combine the November, December meeting.
Why can't you just have one, I mean, I'm sorry, why can't we have a meeting next month?
Well, no, we
You
can.
I'm
We can.
just not in
Oh.
town, sir, because I'm at the AMPO conference.
But there's somebody else that can, right?
That's why I'm asking for guidance, sir. Yep.
You don't need to be here, in other words. We can still have our meeting, correct? I hate to break it to you, right? We still can do business. And I don't mean that as an offense, but
Are both you and Luis in the
I'm
conference?
sorry, I'm too bruised to talk at the moment.
Oh, is Luis going to be at the conference too?
No, sir, Luis will be.
Well, there you go.
We can change the date
oh, it's
also.
in October. Yeah, as long as it's in October.
How about, well, yeah, Commissioner, you can cover the meeting? All right. Then let's move it up, when are you leaving? Even though we don't need you?
Come on,
I leave the
princess.
22nd.
So that would be the 21st? Can you do it
Well,
on the
that's a
21st?
Friday, so I'm certain that you don't want to meet on.
Well, we were looking at the 28th. Is that a Thursday?
You can zoom in, sir, from wherever in the world.
I suggested it to the chairman that I could do that as well. I am not beyond any of that, sir.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
ju-
sorry, it was
just to-
supposed to be the 20, what did I have, the 28th?
It was the 26th.
Yeah. I mean, we need to be here, whether it's Zoom or not, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, let me make sure we all understand each other. The only item that's really needs to be discussed is this item?
Probably.
Yes.
yeah,
Anything else that could come up.
yeah.
I'm sure something else will come
That will be the only item on the agenda.
Don't worry, you don't vote anyways, remember?
Not for the off system, sir.
Oh,
No,
wow.
Don't worry, sir.
See, Andrew, I'm telling you.
Yes,
The
sir.
point being is,
The-
perhaps we
the
could call a
TASA
special
will be the
meeting.
only thing we have for because everything else we have is being held until December because we'll be wrapping up the public involvement on the category
Look, this
7.
federal funding is really, at least from my perspective, it's really important. We cannot afford to be losing, and there's other projects, as they pointed out already, in the pipeline that should have had a shot at it, and maybe they get it, or maybe the current projects get more, but it's something we can't just throw by the wayside.
Let's just
That's
leave
all.
it- let's just leave
I
it-
would offer that there's nothing on the staff end, and we would be able to find out that we would be able to come back in 30 days to give to the board to make action on to remove money for another project.
Well, not necessarily
How do you-
removed,
you don't know
but,
that.
but,
You don't know that.
but
Yeah.
we should get some
Where's she at?
updates on all of these reports.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these projects.
Oh,
excuse
I
me.
agree with
Yeah.
that.
All
That's
right.
what she told us she was
All
going
right.
to do next month, sir.
Let's,
give
so
them
does
updates.
anybody have an issue with keeping the 26th meeting, October 26th?
As long as if you're going to be able to provide us, I think all we want is a deadline, right? Not to make
Yeah,
decisions.
get an update on it, and then let's figure out what works so that we don't run into the problems that we've been discussing.
Exactly.
All right, so let's keep that meeting then. What else?
Nothing. Since you're trying to wrap up.
No, well, you got financials? How are we-
Financials are good. The staff right now, should be at 45.8 expended. We're 31.11 expended. Those expenditures will come up as we start closing out the congestion study program. And within your packet, I won't, bother you with it, but there is information that was given by Caroline Mays at the hearing that the judge, mentioned that is very prudent about the cost of delay at the border infrastructure. So I ask everybody to please take a moment on your own to read through that because it's very good graphics and it's very good information and it's eye-opening.
We all agree it's a bad idea to close our ports of entry. I think we can. All right, TxDOT project status.
Staff has been forewarned to get after it.
No, Commissioner said he'd take care of it, so.
Yes, thank you. Here in coordination with Mr. Hector Siller from the seminary office, together we're going to be doing the Rio Grande Valley MPO construction update for the month of September 2022. Next slide, please. As you can see that the US 83 relief route phase 2, the limits of this project are from FM 2221 to 0.28 miles west of Showers Road. The scope of this project is a new location expressway facility. The contractor Police Construction is at 90% completion, and the estimated completion date for this project will be April 2023. On the next slide, you can see this is the intersection of FM 2221 at US 83. And you can see that the contractor has already completed both bridges and has finalized the asphalt and has done riprap on the embankments of this location. And the contractor is also installing safety lighting, and he's working on the traffic signal installation. Next slide, please. Another picture of FM 2221. You can see this looking southbound where the contractor has already started painting the bridges, and he has already completed the brick pavers and installed the final striping at the location with final sign. They just need to do final sweeping and clean up at the location. Next slide, please. As you can see on this one, this is from from Liberty Road Bridge looking to the west. As you can see, the contractor's already working on installing riprap at the location. They have already done final paving, complete the retaining walls, install large signs and high mast illumination, and metal bead garfists. The only contractor is only pending to do final striping and final grading and seating. Next slide, please. Here's another picture looking to the east from Liberty Road Bridge. You can see that the contractor has already done the final paving, final striping. They've done the riprap, done the cable barrier. All they need to do is do the final striping on the frontage roads and do the final grading and seating at the location. Next slide, please. Here's a look at the Liberty Road. At the bottom of the bridge, you can see this looking to the northwest. The contractor's already working on the painting and has installed the final brick pavers at the location. Next slide, please. Another look at the bridge, US 83 bridge connectors. This is looking to the south. The contractor has already completed the roadways and is just pending at this location final striping and grading and seating. Next slide, please. There's another look at the US 83 connector bridges looking to the north. As you can see, the contractor has already done most of the work at this location. Next slide, please. And this is under the bridges for US 83, the connector bridges. The contractors, as you can see, they're just pending to do the final painting on the bridge and the columns, and they just need to do the final riprap, final grading, striping, and seating at this location. Next slide. This is the US 83 bridges looking to the west. The contractor's already working on the final concrete traffic barrier in the middle. At this location, they just need to do final cleanup, striping, and electrical connections to the high mast services. Next slide, please. As you can see on our last picture, this is east of the connector bridges, and this is looking to the east, just before the Showers Road Bridge. The contractors had already installed the large signs at this location. The contractor had already installed the final paving, the final striping, and the safety lighting. This location is already open to traffic. I don't know if there's any questions on that.
Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Hector Siller. I'm the Assistant Area Engineer in San Benito area office. I just need 10 minutes of your time, if you don't mind. Just messing with you. So I'm going to present on State Highway 100 in Los Fresnos.
Pete, I need to speak to you right away.
State Highway 100 in Los Fresnos. This project is between Mesquite and Ébano Road. It's a rehab of an existing roadway, and we're estimating to complete by March 2023. Next slide, please. So here we're working on the west side of the railroad, on the south side of State Highway 100, and we're working on the subgrade. So we're getting ready to pave this area. Next slide, please. And here's the salvage material that we're going to be placing in the subgrade. Next slide. South Parallel Corridor. This is a project there in San Benito, Harlingen area. It's a full reconstruction between 509 and 2520, and we're estimating to complete this in March 2024. Next slide. So this slide here, we completed the interior bends of the Resaca de los Fresnos Bridge, and we're estimating to do the bridge this next month. Next slide. And here we're doing the stone riprap on the abutments. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great 10 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Pete? Oh.
Eric Davila, Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority. Can we go to the slide number 2 on the presentation? First project up is the Veterans POV expansion. We had groundbreaking not too long ago. We're already into pay app number 2. We're 5% complete on construction. Demo has begun. Contractor fully mobilized out into site, and working a lot on material on hand to help the contractor secure pricing and move the project into completion, which should be done by the end of September of 2023. Next slide. Cap number 2 project on the 550 is 90% complete on PSNE. We're working with TxDOT to accelerate the project. We have some discussions going on with this week about that, and we have some environmental items that just need a little bit of touching up, but the project is shovel-ready, funded, ready to go. And in this particular case, we've got some redesign work that we've got to take care of in-house with regard to a Union Pacific rail coordination that allowed for a bridge alternative. So essentially, we're able to span without too much issue and work that into the existing cost estimate. Next slide, please. East Loop project is 60% design. We're currently reviewing that and passing along our review to TxDOT. Project is partially funded. We appreciate the action that was taken today to help secure some additional funding for that project. Like other projects in the region, we're also waiting on infra grants, hopefully announcements on infra grant funding to come out. But that particular project, preliminary engineering, like I said, is already at 60%. We have got an environmental process that is clearly underway, and we're actually circling around with USIBWC and here with DHS pretty soon on some relocation of levee and some border wall that is at the beginning of the project, about 1.5 miles. Next slide. Flooded Mile Bridge project is under design. Basically, it was a permit submitted to the Department of State, so that's ongoing. Slide number 6. Free Trade Bridge should be letting sometime before the end of this year. Design is pretty much done, getting some final comments from the folks over at the GSA. Slide 7. Morrison Road. Funded, functional class under review by FHWA, so just kind of waiting for that process. Slide 8. Old Dallas Road, right-of-way is in place. That particular project is one under discussion to help accelerate, hopefully into fiscal year of 23. We've got an environmental process that is pretty much at the goal line. So if we can get that hopefully wrapped up before the end of the year, it looks like we stand a chance to be able to let that here in FY23. Next slide. FM 509, it's funded, preliminary engineering underway. Slide 10, Dana Road. Very similar, it's funded. We've got preliminary design. We got basically 2 months of PE work that is underway, so that project is moving along. Slide number 11. Williams Road is actually 2 phases of project. This is in the outer years, so this is more of a project that's in the hopper. We're already got the consultant selected for that and are about 2-3 months underway of preliminary engineering. Slide 12. Second access, we've got basically environmental being restarted. There was a draft final EIS that was kind of paused at the beginning of COVID. We're restarting that process, had a joint meeting with all the agencies and are pushing forward with some coordination with Fish and Wildlife, which is, if you could imagine where the bridge, the causeway landings are, especially as you're leaving the mainland, you've got a lot of U.S. Fish and Wildlife corridor to go through. So that's a critical component that we're prioritizing right now. Slide 13. Arlington Rail, that project was grant funded by a CRECI grant. We are pending final execution of a rail agreement. County has already approved that project, and so we're looking forward to get that one going. Slide 14, SPC Phase 2. That's the project that we just got a report on from TxDOT. Slide 15. Phase 3 is another one that the preliminary engineering is done. We're moving underway with the right-of-way utility and are trying to push forward with funding. 281 connector, connecting up 281 with US 77. Again, helps out with the port and connectivity with ports in that area. Underway. And West Boulevard, funded. Preliminary engineering done. Right-of-way utilities done. Design underway. Whipple Road, another project that is under design. Environmental is all nearly complete. Schematic is at 90% and are reviewing that here internally and are sending to TxDOT here pretty soon. And 1847 sidewalk project, that particular project is at 60% design. Environmental is complete on it as a corridor. I know, sounds like it. There's so many slides. I think that's pretty much it for active projects. Everything else is about US 77. Any questions on RMA projects, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Hidalgo County RMA, hopefully a little quicker.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. If we could get this, here we go. Real quickly, there was questions last meeting about the overall network of the RMA's loop system. This one is depicting the segments E and F closest to, is that 3 o'clock? It's 3 o'clock. No, it's 3 o'clock. Time for daily reports to be submitted. Okay, in construction. Regardless, it's depicting E and F that is closer to the east county lines, and these are just not priority projects. The current projects remain to be the IBTC and 365. 365 is in construction. We are currently 17% in production, 17% on time, and going steadily on that. We are still conducting our migratory bird requirements. This is going to be up on October 15th, and we continue to encounter debris, dump sites along the project that are a major issue, and continue with the levees and the drill shafts pipe installation. As far as wetland mitigation, we did receive positive news that we did get confirmation on the Army Corps' acceptance of our conservation easement. We're moving forward, and this should be an anticipated project in early 2023. We are currently advertising our tow collection system. There is a mandatory pre-bid meeting that will be held October 3rd at our offices in FAR to bid on this system. And that concludes the 365 report. As far as IBTC, we are anxiously awaiting the FONSI status, or official word from our agency partners on the FONSI and the NOA. And we are still hopeful to get positive news on the mega grant award possible. And we'd like to congratulate the City of McAllen in receiving their $25 million infrastructure grant money. And with that being said, we're moving on to the permits. Permits for the month, for the year, we're up to 28,000 permits. We had 4,009 permits issued this month, and that is a 25% increase over this time last year. This pretty much summarizes the report. May I entertain any questions at this moment? Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have the Regional Transit Metro.
Good afternoon, everyone. For Brownsville Metro, we have a total ridership of 70,034. It was a 37.2 increase from last year. For Island Metro, we have 38,933 in ridership for this July, and they had a 71.9 increase from the year before. The revenue hours and revenue miles stayed slightly the same. For Metro McAllen, they have 43,775. There was a slight change in the revenue hours and revenue miles with minus 0.6 and 0.7. We have Valley Metro. Total ridership is 28,866 with UTRGV 8,378 and STC 32, leaving Valley Metro at 20,456. Revenue miles, we had an increase for 11.2, and revenue hours is 1.9. We have our series of public outreach events for the month of July, which we had 3 in McAllen, 1 in FAR, and 1 in San Juan. And the next page, we do have our QR codes for the transit website, our Facebook social media page, and the ride systems. So if you have any questions, please. That's our report. Thank you.
Any other business, Andrew?
I would just quickly like to point out, I think staff, the ladies passed around some little placard cards that we had made up. That's something that came out of our executive retreat, Commissioner. A little information on that card, so we probably might be coming around to some of the city offices and so forth, see if we can put some of that out for the general public.
Okay. Anything else related to the policy board? I just want to make two different comments. One, thank you to everybody that stuck around here. I know it's been a really long meeting. There was a lot of good information. I think it was a productive meeting, but thank you for your efforts and good dialogue and discussion today. And then somebody made mention earlier about, going up during the legislative conference or session. I would like to recommend that we do some sort of a workshop so that we can brainstorm as to what we want to do as a committee or as a policy board, because it would be bad for all of us to kind of go up with different projects and tear our legislators apart. So I think if we can have a unified message, and if we're only going to have a meeting in October and December, that doesn't really give us much time before the session starts. I know that maybe the meat of the session doesn't start until maybe March or April, but let's start getting organized for that. Because again, I think all of us have ideas, and let's just kind of consolidate that so we're unified up there.
Great, yes, sir, because I know that the Valley Partnership is preparing for RGV days in February, so it would be nice to have that well beforehand.
Yes, sir. Okay, well, that being said, our next meeting will be October 26th as scheduled. It is 3:05, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. And a second. All those in favor? Aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.